Maya Johnson couldn't stop smiling as she looked at the diamond ring on her finger. After 3 years of dating Andre Collins, he had finally proposed during a sunset picnic at the park where they first met. It wasn't a grand gesture with flash mobs or skywriters, just the two of them, a bottle of champagne, and the perfect words that made her cry happy tears. Maya was 28, with dreams as big as her heart. She'd built her clothing business from scratch, starting with custom designs she sold online while working a day job at a department store. Now she had her own small studio and 2 part-time assistants who helped with her growing clothing line. Her designs celebrated women of all shapes and sizes, something she felt the fashion industry often overlooked. "Girl, I still can't believe it," her best friend Tiana said, grabbing Maya's hand to admire the ring again. They were having coffee at their favorite spot near Maya's apartment. "Andre did good. So when are you thinking for the wedding?" "Next spring," Maya said. "That gives us about 10 months to plan everything. And I know exactly where I want to get my dress." Maya had been saving bridal magazine clippings since she was a teenager. Over the years, her style had evolved, but one thing remained constant. She wanted her wedding dress to come from Elegance Unveiled, the most prestigious bridal salon in the city. Celebrities, socialites, and daughters of the wealthy all got their wedding dresses there. The boutique was featured in magazines and even had a brief spotlight on a popular wedding reality show. "Are you sure about Elegance Unveiled?" Tiana asked, raising an eyebrow. "That place is, well, you know." Maya knew what Tiana meant. The salon had a reputation for catering to a certain clientele, wealthy and predominantly white. But Maya had been saving diligently for this very purpose. "I've wanted a dress from there since we saw that feature in Brides magazine when we were in college, and now I can afford it," Maya said confidently. "I've been putting money aside from every sale. I have $6,000 saved just for my dress." Tiana nodded, though she didn't look convinced. "Okay, if that's what you want, I'm with you. When's the appointment?" "Next Saturday at 11, Mom's coming too." For the next week, Maya could barely focus on her work. She kept browsing the Elegance Unveiled website, studying the designers they carried and narrowing down styles she wanted to try. She even practiced how she would describe her wedding vision to the consultants. When Saturday finally arrived, Maya spent extra time getting ready. She chose a cream-colored blazer over a silk blouse, paired with tailored pants and her best heels. She wanted to look polished and professional. Her mother Vivian wore her church dress and Tiana arrived in a stylish jumpsuit. "You look beautiful, baby," Vivian said, adjusting Maya's collar. At 58, Vivian had raised Maya alone after her father died when Maya was just 10. She'd worked double shifts as a nurse to put Maya through design school, and seeing her daughter succeed made every sacrifice worth it. "Thanks, Mom," Maya said, hugging her. "I'm so glad you're here for this." The 3 women took an Uber to the upscale part of town where Elegance Unveiled was located. The salon occupied the ground floor of a restored Victorian building, with large windows displaying mannequins in elaborate wedding gowns. A doorman in a tailored suit opened the heavy glass door for them. Inside, Maya caught her breath. The salon was even more beautiful than in the photos. Plush white carpet, crystal chandeliers, and antique furniture arranged in elegant seating areas. Wedding gowns in every style lined the walls arranged by designer. A curved staircase led to a second floor, where Maya could see more dresses and what looked like private fitting rooms. At the reception desk, a thin, blonde woman looked up from her computer. Her smile faltered slightly as she took in the 3 black women. "May I help you?" she asked, her tone cooler than the air conditioning. "Yes, I have an appointment at 11. Maya Johnson." The receptionist tapped at her keyboard, frowning slightly. "Johnson? Yes, I see it here. Please have a seat. Someone will be with you shortly." Maya, Vivian, and Tiana sat on a white velvet sofa. While other arriving brides were immediately offered champagne, they waited without being offered refreshments. After 20 minutes, a young consultant finally approached them. "Ms. Johnson, I'm Heather. I'll be assisting you today." Heather led them to a small fitting room at the back of the store, away from the main salon area where other brides were being attended to. There were no gowns in the room, just 3 chairs and a small platform with mirrors. "So what kind of dress are you looking for?" Heather asked, her notebook poised but her eyes wandering toward the main salon. Maya eagerly described her vision, a fitted mermaid silhouette with delicate lace and perhaps some beading. She mentioned designers she liked and showed photos on her phone of styles she'd seen on the salon's website. My budget is $6,000, Maya said proudly. It had taken her over a year to save that amount. Heather's expression shifted. I see. Well, our designer gowns typically start at $8,000. But we do have some samples and discontinued styles that might work for your budget. Let me bring a few options. When Heather left, Tiana rolled her eyes. Did you notice how she didn't even write anything down? Give her a chance, Maya said, though she'd noticed too. Maybe she's just having an off day. Vivian squeezed Maya's hand. Remember, baby, it's about finding the dress that makes you feel beautiful. Don't let anyone dim your light. When Heather returned, she carried only 3 dresses, all clearly from the clearance section, with yellowing fabric and outdated styles nothing like what Maya had described. These are what we have in your price range, Heather said, hanging them on the rack. Would you like to try them on? Maya tried to hide her disappointment. Actually, I was hoping to see something more like the Alessandra Richards design in your window. The one with the lace overlay? Heather shifted uncomfortably. That gown is $10,000. I don't think it would be appropriate given your budget constraints. I understand it's above my ideal budget, but I'd still like to try it. Maya insisted. Sometimes when you find the perfect dress, you find a way to make it work. I'll have to check with my manager, Heather said, leaving the room again. A few minutes later, the door opened. Instead of Heather, an older woman with steel gray hair entered. Her name tag read Victoria Harrington, owner. Ms. Johnson, Victoria said, her voice clipped. I understand there's some confusion about our collection and pricing. Maya stood up. No confusion. I'd just like to try on the Alessandra Richards design from your window display. Victoria's eyes narrowed slightly. That particular gown is reserved for our established clientele. Perhaps another establishment would better suit your taste and budget. We have a list of shops that cater to more modest needs. The implication was clear. Tiana stood up, her face flushed with anger. Are you serious right now? You haven't even shown her anything close to what she asked for. Victoria's smile tightened. I'd appreciate if you could lower your voice. This is a luxury establishment. It's a discriminatory establishment, Tiana shot back. Victoria turned to the door and made a small gesture. Almost immediately a security guard appeared. Is there a problem, Ms. Harrington? He asked. These ladies were just leaving, Victoria said coldly. They seem to have misunderstood the nature of our boutique. Maya felt her chest tighten as the security guard stepped aside, clearly expecting them to exit. Her mother stood up, dignity in every inch of her 5'4" frame. Come on, Maya, Vivian said quietly. We don't need to be where we're not welcome. As they walked through the main salon toward the exit, Maya noticed the stares from other customers and staff. Her cheeks burned with humiliation. Outside on the sidewalk, she finally let the tears fall. I'm so sorry, baby, Vivian said, holding her daughter. I don't understand, Maya whispered. I made an appointment. I have the money. Why would they treat me like that? Tiana, still fuming, put her arm around Maya's shoulders. Because some people are stuck in the last century. But you know what? Their loss. You're going to find a dress 10 times more beautiful somewhere that deserves your business. Maya nodded, but the sting of rejection went deep. This wasn't just about a dress, it was about being told she didn't belong in a space she had dreamed of, that she had worked hard to afford. As they waited for their Uber, Maya wiped her tears and straightened her shoulders. Something shifted inside her, a seed of determination taking root where hurt had been. You're right, Tiana, she said finally. Their loss. What Maya didn't know then, as they drove away from Elegance Unveiled, was just how true those words would prove to be. The day's humiliation would set in motion a chain of events that would change her life forever. Maya didn't talk about the Bridal Salon incident for 3 days. She went through the motions, working on orders, answering emails, even laughing at Andre's jokes during dinner. But inside something was brewing. Not just hurt, but a quiet determination that grew stronger each day. On the 4th morning, she woke up before her alarm and sat at her small desk, sketching furiously. By the time the sun fully rose, she had filled 12 pages with designs unlike anything she'd created before. What's all this? Andre asked, bringing her coffee. He picked up one of the sketches, a wedding dress with a modern twist on traditional African patterns subtly woven into the lace. I'm expanding my line, Maya said, accepting the mug gratefully. I'm going to design wedding dresses, Andre raised his eyebrows. Because of what happened at that store? Baby, I know you're upset, but starting a bridal line is a huge undertaking. It's more than that, Maya said. When I was sitting in that salon watching those women look at me like I didn't belong, I realized something. There must be so many brides who feel excluded from the perfect wedding fantasy. Not just black women, but plus-size brides, brides with disabilities, brides who can't spend $10,000 on a dress. I want to create something for them. Over the next few weeks, Maya threw herself into research. She studied fabrics, pricing, manufacturing. She reached out to a former classmate who worked at a bridal shop to understand the business side. By day, she ran her regular clothing business. By night, she developed her bridal line. Tiana worried about her friend. "You're going to burn out working like this," she said one evening, watching Maya pin fabric on a dress form. "When's the last time you and Andre went on a date?" Maya paused, needle in hand. "Last week? Maybe 2 weeks ago? I don't know, he understands I'm busy." But the truth was, Andre was growing distant. He'd supported her small clothing line as a side hustle, but seemed uncomfortable with her newfound ambition. "I just think wedding dresses are risky," he'd say. "Stick with what's working." 6 weeks after the Elegance Unveiled incident, Maya launched a small collection of wedding separates, tops, skirts, and overlays that could be mixed and matched to create custom looks. She called it Unveiled Beauty, a subtle jab at the salon that had rejected her, but also a statement about revealing the beauty in every bride. The pieces were priced affordably, with the entire ensemble costing less than half of the budget she'd saved for her own dress. She modeled them on 3 friends of different sizes and skin tones, taking photos in a local park with Tiana's help. Maya shared the photos on her business social media accounts along with a brief, honest story about what had inspired the collection. "After being turned away from a bridal salon that didn't think I belonged in their luxury space, I realized how many brides might feel excluded from the wedding industry. These pieces are for everyone who's been made to feel they don't fit someone else's idea of bridal perfection." She hadn't expected much, maybe a few supportive comments from her small following. But by morning, her post had been shared thousands of times. By afternoon, her inbox was flooded with messages, from women sharing similar experiences, from smaller boutiques interested in carrying her designs, from a popular wedding blog requesting an interview. "This is crazy," she told her mother over the phone. "I can't keep up with the messages." "It's not crazy," Vivian replied. "It's what happens when you speak truth. People respond to honesty, baby, and your designs are beautiful." A week later, the wedding blog published their interview with Maya, featuring professional photos of her collection. The headline read, "Designer creates inclusive bridal line after discrimination. I want every bride to feel beautiful." The article went viral, shared by several celebrities and fashion influencers with millions of followers. Orders poured in faster than Maya could fulfill them. She had to temporarily close her website to catch up, working around the clock with her 2 assistants. "You need to hire more people," Tiana insisted, helping pack orders on a Saturday, "and find a bigger space. This studio apartment isn't cutting it anymore." Maya knew she was right, but scaling up required money she didn't have. She was reinvesting every dollar of profit, but it wasn't enough to make the leap to a proper business. The opportunity came from an unexpected source. Alexandra Chen, founder of Phoenix Ventures, a firm specializing in funding women-owned businesses, had read the viral article. She reached out to Maya directly through social media. "Your story resonated with me," Alexandra wrote. "I'd love to discuss how we might help you grow your business. No pressure, just a conversation." Maya was suspicious at first. She'd heard horror stories about predatory investors. But after researching Alexandra and finding she had a solid reputation for fair deals with small businesses, she agreed to meet. They connected at a quiet cafe near Maya's apartment. Alexandra was straightforward and practical, asking thoughtful questions about Maya's vision, her production capabilities, and her growth strategy. "I think there's something special here," Alexandra said finally. "You're not just selling dresses, you're selling dignity and inclusion." That's powerful. The investment offer came a week later, $250,000 for a 15% stake in Maya's company. The money would allow her to lease a proper studio space, hire staff, increase production, and properly launch her bridal line. Maya asked Andre to look over the contract with her. hoping his business degree would be helpful. But his reaction surprised her. "This is moving too fast," he said, pushing the papers away. "What happened to our wedding plans? You've barely mentioned them in months." "I thought you'd be happy for me," Maya said, hurt creeping into her voice. "This is a huge opportunity." "I am happy for you," Andre insisted. "I just don't want to lose you to all this. You're different lately, always working, always thinking about the business." The conversation ended unresolved, with a tension that had become too familiar between them. After a sleepless night, Maya called her mother. "Am I making a mistake, Mom? Should I slow down for the sake of my relationship?" Vivian was quiet for a moment. "I can't answer that for you, baby, but I'll tell you what your father told me once. He said, never dim your light for someone else. The right person will help you shine brighter." The next day, Maya signed the investment deal. Within weeks, she leased a 2,000-square-foot studio in the Arts District, hired 4 full-time employees, and officially launched Maya Johnson Bridal alongside her original clothing line. The tension with Andre continued to grow. He'd come home from his accounting job to find Maya still at her studio. Their weekends, once filled with movies and brunches with friends, were now consumed by her business demands. The wedding planning they'd once been so excited about had stalled completely. "Maybe we should postpone," Maya suggested one night after another argument about her long hours, just until things settled down with the business. Andre didn't fight it, which told Maya everything she needed to know about where they stood. They agreed to revisit their plans in 6 months, but both felt the shift in their relationship. Maya threw herself even deeper into her work. The business grew beyond her wildest expectations. A feature in Vogue highlighted her as fashion's newest disruptor. A major department store placed a wholesale order. Her social media following grew to hundreds of thousands. 9 months after the Elegance Unveiled incident, Maya's company crossed the $1 million revenue mark. She now had 12 employees, a growing list of retail partners, and plans to open her own boutique. She should have felt nothing but pride. Yet sometimes, alone in her new apartment, she and Andre had decided to take a break that looked increasingly permanent. Maya would look at the engagement ring she still wore on a chain around her neck and wonder if success was worth the price. Then, she'd remember the faces of her clients. Women who cried when they found a dress that made them feel beautiful. Women who thanked her for creating styles that honored their cultures. Women who'd been told they were too big or too small or too different to have the bridal experience they deserved. In those moments, Maya knew she was exactly where she needed to be. Her dream had shifted, grown bigger than herself. What had started as a response to rejection had become a mission to change an industry. And somewhere deep inside, a small voice whispered that this was just the beginning. The best was yet to come, though it would arrive in a way she could never have imagined. The invitation arrived on thick cream paper with gold embossing. The Horizon Foundation invites you to their annual Gala for Arts, Education. Maya almost tossed it into her consider later pile until she noticed the handwritten note at the bottom. "We would be honored to have you join us as an emerging leader in the business community. Alexandra." Alexandra Chen had become more than an investor to Maya over the past year. She'd become a mentor. The older woman had guided Maya through the growing pains of her rapidly expanding business, offering advice without trying to take control. This personal invitation was clearly Alexandra's way of helping Maya network with potential clients and partners. "You're going," Tiana declared when Maya called her, uncertain about attending. "You've been working nonstop for 14 months. Plus, do you know how exclusive this gala is? People pay thousands just to get on the waiting list." "I don't have anything to wear," Maya protested weakly. Tiana laughed. "You literally design clothes for a living." 2 weeks later, Maya stood in front of her mirror, hardly recognizing herself. She'd created a gown that represented everything her brand stood for. Elegant but accessible, with subtle nods to her heritage in the embroidery pattern along the neckline. The deep burgundy fabric complemented her skin tone, and the silhouette showed off her curves without being too revealing. Her business, now officially rebranded as Maya Johnson Designs with 2 separate lines for bridal and everyday wear, had taken off beyond her wildest dreams. With 16 full-time employees and a newly leased production facility, she was on track to triple last year's revenue. Fashion magazines were calling her the industry's fresh voice, and Celebrities had begun wearing her designs on red carpets. The only part of her life that hadn't flourished was her relationship with Andre. Their break had stretched to 6 months with minimal contact, and Maya knew in her heart it was over. The engagement ring no longer hung around her neck. It sat in a velvet box in her dresser drawer, a reminder of a different life she might have had. The gala was held at the city's Natural History Museum, transformed for the evening with twinkling lights and towering floral arrangements. Maya felt a flutter of anxiety as she handed her invitation to the attendant. Despite her success, she still sometimes felt like an imposter in spaces like this, spaces that hadn't been designed with people like her in mind. "Ms. Johnson, welcome," the attendant said warmly. "You're seated at table 14 in the East Wing." The museum's grand hall was filled with the city's elite, old money families, tech entrepreneurs, celebrities, and politicians. Maya made her way through the crowd, accepting a glass of champagne from a passing waiter. "Maya, you made it." Alexandra waved from across the room, elegant in a simple black dress. "Come, there are people you should meet." For the next hour, Maya was introduced to so many people she lost track of names and faces. Everyone was polite, but she could feel the subtle assessments behind their smiles. The newcomer being evaluated, categorized. By the time dinner was announced, Maya was exhausted from maintaining her professional smile. She checked her table assignment and made her way to the East Wing, where round tables were arranged beneath a massive suspended dinosaur skeleton. Table 14 was already half filled when she arrived. A gray-haired couple nodded politely as she approached. A famous actor whose face she recognized from movies gave her a distracted smile. And then there was the man who stood as she approached, tall, with warm brown skin and a closely trimmed beard peppered with the faintest hint of gray at the temples. "You must be Ms. Johnson," he said, extending his hand. "I'm Julian Reynolds." The name was vaguely familiar, but Maya couldn't place it immediately. His handshake was firm but not aggressive, his smile genuine. "Please call me Maya," she said, taking the empty seat beside him. Dinner was a 5-course affair, each dish more elaborate than the last. As the other guests at their table became engrossed in conversations about vacation homes and private schools, Maya and Julian found themselves in their own bubble. "So what brings you to this gala?" Julian asked, his voice rich and deep. "My investor strong-armed me," Maya admitted with a small laugh. "She thinks I need to network more. You?" "I'm on the foundation's board," he said. "Arts education in underserved communities is a passion of mine." Maya nodded. "That's incredible work. I grew up in a neighborhood where arts programs were the first things cut when budgets got tight. I was lucky. My mom found ways to nurture my creativity anyway." "What kind of creativity?" Julian asked, seeming genuinely interested. "I'm a designer," Maya said. "Clothing specifically. My company is still relatively new but growing quickly." Recognition dawned in Julian's eyes. "Wait, Maya Johnson Designs? The inclusive bridal line?" Maya felt a flush of pleasure that he knew her work. "That's me. My sister shared an article about you months ago, about how you started your line after being turned away from some bridal salon." His expression darkened. That story made my blood boil. They talked through the rest of dinner and barely noticed when the plates were cleared away. Julian told her about growing up as the son of Jamaican immigrants, about studying computer science when he was often the only black student in his classes, about founding his tech company with the goal of creating educational software for underserved communities. "It started small," he explained. "Just me and 2 college friends working out of my apartment. Now we have offices in 6 countries. Maya realized with a start that she was talking to Julian Reynolds of Reynolds Educational Technologies, a company valued at billions. "I had no idea," she said, feeling suddenly self-conscious. "I mean, I should have connected the name, but—" Julian laughed. "Good, I prefer it that way. Makes for more honest conversations." After dinner came speeches and a charity auction. Maya and Julian bid against each other playfully on a student art collection, driving the price up for the benefit of the foundation. When the formal program ended and music began, Julian asked her to dance. "Full disclosure," he said as they moved to the dance floor. "I have 2 left feet, but I'm willing to embarrass myself if you are." There was something refreshing about Julian. Despite his wealth and success, he carried himself with an unassuming warmth. As they swayed to the music, Maya found herself relaxing in a way she hadn't in months. So, Julian said as the evening wound down, my sister's getting married in the fall. Maya smiled. Congratulations to her. She's been looking everywhere for her dress, but nothing feels right. After hearing your story and talking with you tonight, would you consider designing something for her? I know you must be incredibly busy. I'd love to meet her, Maya said. No promises, but if we connect, I'd be honored to create something special. They exchanged contact information, and Julian insisted on calling her a car when she was ready to leave. Standing on the museum steps waiting for her ride, Maya felt a strange mix of emotions, excitement, curiosity, and a twinge of guilt about Andre. Even though they were essentially over, they'd never officially ended things. 2 days later, Maya met Andre at a quiet cafe. The conversation was difficult but necessary. They both acknowledged that they'd grown in different directions. Andre admitted he'd felt intimidated by her success. Maya confessed she'd been so focused on her business that she'd neglected their relationship. I'll always care about you, Andre said as they parted, and I'm proud of what you've accomplished even if I wasn't good at showing it. Maya slipped the engagement ring into his hand. I hope you find someone who fits perfectly with the life you want. A weight lifted from her shoulders as she walked away. Closing that chapter felt bittersweet but right. The following week, Julian's sister Zoe visited Maya's studio. The two women connected immediately over their shared experiences with the traditional bridal industry. Zoe, curvaceous and confident, had similar stories of boutiques that made her feel unwelcome. When Julian told me about you, I knew this was meant to be, Zoe said, examining the sample dresses with appreciation. I want something that celebrates my body, not something that makes me feel like I need to change to fit the dress. As Maya took Zoe's measurements and discussed design ideas, Julian waited patiently in the studio's small reception area, working on his laptop. When they finished, he looked up with a smile that made Maya's heart beat a little faster. Successful mission? He asked his sister. Beyond successful? Zoe grinned. Maya's going to create something amazing. Over the next few weeks, as Maya worked on designs for Zoe, Julian found reasons to be involved in the process. He'd accompany his sister to fittings, bring lunch for the studio staff, or call with questions that could easily have been handled by email. Maya found herself looking forward to these interactions more than she cared to admit. There was an ease between them, a natural understanding that felt both unfamiliar and right. He likes you, Tiana said bluntly after witnessing one of Julian's visits. Like, really likes you. He's a client, Maya protested. And way out of my league, Tiana rolled her eyes. The man is worth billions and he's bringing you coffee just the way you like it. Trust me, it's not about the dress anymore. As summer turned to fall, Maya had to admit her friend might be right. The question was, what was she going to do about it? The dress for Julian's sister Zoe came together beautifully. Maya had outdone herself, creating a gown that celebrated Zoe's curves while incorporating elements that honored her Jamaican heritage. The ivory fabric was embellished with hand-beaded patterns, inspired by traditional Caribbean designs, subtle enough to be elegant but meaningful enough to tell a story. It's perfect, Zoe said during the final fitting, tears welling in her eyes as she turned in front of the mirror. I've never felt so beautiful. Behind her, Julian stood with his hands in his pockets, a proud smile on his face. You've created magic, he told Maya quietly. This means more to my family than you know. After Zoe changed back into her regular clothes and left to meet her fiancé, Julian lingered at the studio. Do you have dinner plans? He asked Maya. She glanced at the clock, nearly 7 p.m. She'd been working since 6 that morning. Nothing specific, though. I should probably review some fabric orders before tomorrow. The fabric orders can wait, Julian said. You've been working nonstop for weeks. Let me thank you properly for what you've done for Zoe. They ended up at a small Ethiopian restaurant tucked away on a side street. This place makes me think of home, Julian explained as they settled into a cozy corner booth. My mother couldn't cook Jamaican food in our neighborhood without someone complaining about the smell, so she learned Ethiopian recipes from our neighbor instead. Different continent, but somehow it always reminds me of her kitchen. Maya liked how Julian shared these small pieces of himself, how he talked about his immigrant parents with such deep respect. Most men she dated were either intimidated by her success or tried to compete with it. Julian seemed genuinely secure in himself, comfortable with both his achievements and his roots. Over dinner, they talked about everything, from their businesses to their childhoods, from books they loved to places they dreamed of visiting. The restaurant was nearly empty by the time they realized how late it had gotten. "I should get you home," Julian said, though he made no move to call for the check. "Probably," Maya agreed, equally reluctant to end the evening. Outside, the October air had turned chilly. Julian slipped off his jacket and placed it around Maya's shoulders before she could protest. The weight of it was comforting, carrying a trace of his cologne. "I had a really good time," she said as they reached her car. Julian looked at her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "This wasn't just about thanking you for Zoe's dress. You know that, right?" Maya nodded, not trusting herself to speak. "I'd like to see you again," he continued, "not as a client or a business connection, just as a man who finds you remarkable in every way." Before she could respond, he leaned down and kissed her, gently at first, then with a warmth that made her forget they were standing on a public sidewalk. When they finally pulled apart, Maya was smiling. "I'll take that as a yes?" Julian asked, his own smile matching hers. From that night, everything changed. They began dating properly. Dinner at intimate restaurants where Julian knew the owners, weekend drives to the coast, quiet evenings at his downtown penthouse where they cooked together and talked for hours. Tiana was delighted by the development. "I told you he was into you," she crowed when Maya shared the news. "Though I still can't believe you're dating a literal billionaire." "He's just Julian to me," Maya said, and she meant it. Despite his wealth, Julian lived relatively modestly. Yes, he had the penthouse and a vacation home in the Caribbean, but he drove a sensible electric car, wore the same watch his father had given him for college graduation, and seemed genuinely uncomfortable with excessive luxury. "Growing up with parents who worked multiple jobs just to keep food on the table changes how you see money," he explained once. "It's a tool, not a personality trait." As their relationship deepened, Julian took a genuine interest in Maya's business, not to control it but to support its growth. He connected her with retailers who could expand her reach, introduced her to a sustainable fabric supplier who worked with women's cooperatives in West Africa, and offered thoughtful advice when she considered opening a flagship store. "You've built something extraordinary," he told her one evening as they reviewed the plans for her boutique. "Not just a business, but a movement. Do you realize how many people you've inspired?" Maya blushed at the praise. Her business had indeed become something bigger than she'd imagined. A major fashion magazine had featured her in their Visionaries issue. Her Instagram following had grown to over 1 million. And most importantly, women from all backgrounds were finding confidence in her designs. Just before Christmas, a television producer reached out about featuring Maya's story in a documentary series about entrepreneurs who were changing their industries. The filming would coincide with the opening of her first brick-and-mortar store in the spring. "You should do it," Julian encouraged when she hesitated. "Your story needs to be told. Parts of it are still painful," Maya admitted. "Talking about being rejected from that bridal salon, about how Andre and I grew apart." Julian took her hand. "Those parts are what make your journey real. And think of all the women who might see themselves in your story and find the courage to pursue their own dreams." With Julian's support, Maya agreed to the documentary. As filming began, she found herself reflecting on how far she'd come from that devastating day at Elegance Unveiled. The rejection that had once brought her to tears now seemed like a blessing in disguise, the catalyst that had launched her on this incredible path. Zoe's wedding in February was a joyous celebration. Maya attended as Julian's date, but also as the designer of not only the bride's gown, but custom dresses for the bridesmaids and mother of the bride as well. Watching Julian's family embrace and celebrate in her designs filled her with a deep sense of purpose. "You've become part of the family already," Julian's mother told her with a warm hug at the reception. "My son has never been happier." As winter turned to spring, Maya threw herself into preparations for her store opening. Located in the heart of the city's fashion district, the boutique would showcase both her bridal and ready-to-wear collections. She wanted it to be more than just a store, a community space where women could feel welcomed, affirmed, and beautiful. The documentary crew followed her journey, capturing the late nights, the design challenges, the emotional moments with clients. Through it all, Julian remained her steadfast support, bringing her dinner when she worked late, offering a sounding board for ideas. and reminding her to rest when she pushed herself too hard. "You can't pour from an empty cup," he'd say, gently taking her sketchbook from her hands when her eyes grew tired. "The business needs you healthy." A week before the store opening, Julian suggested they take a day off for themselves. "Just one day," he pleaded. "The store will still be there tomorrow and you've earned a break." He wouldn't tell her where they were going, only that she should dress comfortably. When his car headed toward the coastline, Maya suspected they were going to the beach house they'd visited a few times. Instead, he turned onto a winding road that led up to the bluffs overlooking the ocean. "I've never been here before," Maya said as they parked. "It's beautiful." Julian took her hand as they walked along a narrow path through coastal wildflowers. The April sun was warm on their faces, the sound of waves crashing below a rhythmic backdrop to their footsteps. They reached a small clearing with a spectacular view of the ocean. A simple wooden bench faced the water, seemingly placed there just for this moment. "My father proposed to my mother on a cliff like this in Jamaica," Julian said softly as they sat down. "He always told me that when you find the person who makes your life fuller, who challenges you to be your best self, who feels like home, you don't wait." Maya's heart began to race as Julian turned to face her. Taking both her hands in his, "Maya Johnson, I've never met anyone like you. Your strength, your creativity, your compassion, your determination, everything about you amazes me. These past 6 months have been the happiest of my life." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was a ring unlike any Maya had ever seen. A cushion-cut, diamond surrounded by smaller stones in a setting that incorporated the same pattern she'd used in Zoe's wedding dress. "I worked with a black jeweler from New Orleans," Julian explained. "I wanted something as unique as you are." Tears filled Maya's eyes as he continued. "I know this might seem fast, but I've never been more certain of anything. I want to build a life with you, to support your dreams as you've supported mine, to face whatever comes next, together. Maya, will you marry me?" Maya looked from the ring to Julian's hopeful face, her heart so full she could barely breathe. This wasn't how she'd imagined her life unfolding when she'd entered that bridal salon nearly 2 years ago. This was better, more authentic, more aligned with who she truly was. "Yes," she whispered. Then louder, "Yes, absolutely yes." As Julian slipped the ring onto her finger, a perfect fit, Maya thought about journeys and destinations. The path had been winding, sometimes painful, but it had led her here, to this moment, this man, this love that felt like coming home. Julian pulled her close, kissing her with such tenderness that fresh tears sprang to her eyes. When they finally broke apart, both laughing and crying at once, he pressed his forehead to hers. "I can't wait to see what we build together," he said softly. Neither could Maya. And somewhere in the back of her mind, a plan began to form. A perfect full-circle moment that would close one chapter of her story and open another. Maya's boutique opening was a triumph. Lines stretched around the block, with women of all shapes, sizes, and backgrounds eager to experience her inclusive approach to fashion. Fashion journalists mingled with social media influencers, all capturing the moment when Maya cut the ceremonial ribbon across the entrance. "This store belongs to all of you," she told the cheering crowd. "To every woman who's ever been made to feel she doesn't belong in a beautiful space. This is your home." Julian stood proudly at her side, letting her shine in her moment while offering quiet support. The documentary crew captured it all. The tearful hugs from customers who finally found clothes that fit their bodies, the champagne toast with Maya's team, and the tender moment when Maya's mother Vivian walked through the store in awe. "Your father would be so proud," Vivian whispered, squeezing her daughter's hand. "Look what you've built." As the excitement of the opening settled into the steady rhythm of running a successful retail operation, Maya and Julian began planning their wedding. They wanted something intimate but meaningful, a celebration that honored both their heritage and their future together. "I have something to confess," Maya told Julian one evening as they looked through potential venues. "I've been thinking about my dress and I don't want to design it myself." Julian looked surprised. "Really? I just assumed—" "I know. Everyone expects it. But I've made hundreds of wedding dresses now and I want mine to be special, something I haven't seen before in my own creative process." "So who would you trust to design it?" Julian asked. Maya took a deep breath. "That's the thing. I want to go back to elegance unveiled." Julian's eyebrows shot up. The salon that turned you away? Are you serious? Completely, Maya said, her voice steady. I've thought about this for months. It's not about revenge, not exactly. It's about coming full circle, about showing myself and them how far I've come, about taking back a space that once rejected me. Julian studied her face for a long moment. If that's what you want, I support you. But you know they'll fall over themselves to serve you now that you're famous. And engaged to me, he added with a wry smile. That's part of the point, Maya said. I want them to know who I am. That I'm the same woman they escorted out with security. The woman they deemed unworthy of their luxury experience. The plan took shape over the next few weeks. Maya would return to Elegance Unveiled, not immediately revealing her identity. She wanted an honest interaction before any recognition occurred. Julian would accompany her, but wait outside initially. On a crisp autumn morning, almost exactly 2 years after her first visit, Maya stood once more on the sidewalk outside Elegance Unveiled. This time she wore a tailored suit from her own collection, her hair styled in an elegant updo, and shoes that cost more than the entire outfit she'd worn to her first appointment. You ready? Julian asked, squeezing her hand. Maya nodded. Wait 15 minutes, then come in. She took a deep breath and pushed open the heavy glass door. The salon looked exactly as she remembered. The plush white carpet, the crystal chandeliers, the same elegant seating areas. Her heart pounded, but her steps were steady as she approached the reception desk. The receptionist, not the same one from 2 years ago, looked up with a practiced smile. Good morning. Do you have an appointment? No, Maya said, her voice calm. But I'd like to speak with Victoria Harrington. The receptionist's smile faltered slightly. Ms. Harrington only sees clients by appointment. But I'd be happy to assist you with anything you need. I'm not a client yet, Maya said. Please tell her that Maya Johnson would like to speak with her. At the mention of her name, the receptionist's eyes widened slightly. Maya's face had been in enough magazines and online features over the past year to be recognizable, especially in fashion circles. Of course, Ms. Johnson. Please have a seat. I'll see if Ms. Harrington is available. Maya settled onto one of the white velvet sofas, the same one where she, her mother, and Tiana had waited 2 years ago. The memory was still sharp, but the pain had dulled, transformed into something else: determination, purpose, strength. 5 minutes later, Victoria Harrington emerged from a back office, her smile wide and welcoming in a way it had never been during Maya's first visit. Ms. Johnson, what an unexpected pleasure. I'm such an admirer of your work. Maya stood, extending her hand professionally. Thank you, Ms. Harrington. I believe we've met before. Victoria's smile didn't waver, but confusion flickered in her eyes. Have we? I'm sure I would remember. 2 years ago, Maya said, her voice level. I came in for an appointment to find my wedding dress. You suggested another establishment would better suit my taste and budget and had security escort us out. The color drained from Victoria's face. Several nearby customers turned to stare, and a consultant paused while hanging a dress. I don't recall, Victoria stammered. I understand, Maya said. You probably turn away many women who look like me. It would be hard to remember just one. Victoria glanced around nervously at the growing attention from others in the salon. Perhaps we could speak in my office. I'm comfortable right here, Maya replied. I've come back because I'm getting married and I'd like to try on wedding dresses. My budget is no longer a concern. As if on cue, the door opened and Julian walked in. Heads turned immediately. Julian Reynolds was easily recognizable in business circles. He crossed to Maya's side and slipped a protective arm around her waist. Everything okay, love? He asked, his eyes never leaving Victoria's face. Fine, Maya assured him. Ms. Harrington and I were just discussing whether Elegance Unveiled might have dresses worthy of our wedding. Victoria's professional mask slipped back into place, though her hands trembled slightly. Of course. We would be honored to serve you. Why don't I personally show you our most exclusive collection? We just received pieces from Paris that aren't even on the floor yet. Maya allowed herself to be led through the salon, Julian at her side. She noticed how the staff scrambled to offer champagne, how other customers whispered behind their hands, how Victoria pointed out dresses with price tags that would have made Maya gasp 2 years ago. This one is exceptional, Victoria said, indicating a gown dripping with crystals. 35,000, but for you we could offer a special arrangement. Maya studied the dress with a designer's eye. It's beautiful craftsmanship, she acknowledged. but not quite what I'm looking for. For the next hour, Maya tried on gowns that cost more than most people's cars. With each one, she offered thoughtful professional critiques, neither overly enthusiastic nor dismissive. Victoria grew increasingly desperate to please her, bringing out designs normally reserved for celebrities and royalty. "Perhaps if you told me more about your vision," Victoria suggested, her voice strained with forced pleasantness. Maya looked at her reflection in a mirror, draped in French lace and Italian silk. She thought about her journey, from the young woman with a small clothing line and big dreams, to the designer whose name was recognized industry-wide, to the woman who had found love with someone who valued her for exactly who she was. "My vision," Maya said slowly, "is of a world where every woman is treated with dignity when she walks into a space like this, where her worth isn't determined by her bank account or the color of her skin." She turned to face Victoria directly. "I didn't come here to buy a dress, Ms. Harrington. I came here to close a chapter of my life. 2 years ago, the way you treated me could have destroyed my confidence, my dreams. Instead, it lit a fire that built my company." Victoria's face had gone very still. Julian moved to Maya's side, taking her hand. "I'm opening a bridal salon next month," Maya continued. "Across the street, actually. We'll carry designers from diverse backgrounds, offer sizes that fit real women, and create a space where everyone is welcome. I came today to thank you, in a way. Your rejection helped shape my success." Without waiting for a response, Maya walked to the dressing room and changed back into her suit. When she emerged, Julian was waiting with her coat. Victoria stood frozen near the reception desk, her face unreadable. As they reached the door, Maya paused. "Your dresses are beautiful, Ms. Harrington. It's a shame they only get to be worn by such a small, select group of women." Outside on the sidewalk, Maya took a deep breath of the crisp autumn air, feeling lighter than she had in years. Julian pulled her close, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "Proud of you," he said simply. 6 weeks later, Maya Johnson Bridal opened its doors across from Elegance Unveiled. The space was warm and inviting, comfortable seating in rich jewel tones, walls featuring photographs of real brides of all sizes and backgrounds, and a sign in the window that read, "All welcome here." On opening day, the line stretched around the block. Maya personally greeted the first bride, a young black teacher who reminded her so much of herself from 2 years ago. As she helped the woman find dresses within her budget, treating her with the dignity every bride deserved, Maya caught sight of her engagement ring sparkling under the lights. Her own wedding to Julian was planned for the following spring, a celebration that would blend their cultures and values. Her dress would be designed by a collective of young designers from underrepresented backgrounds, whom she was mentoring through a foundation she and Julian had started. Life had taken her on an unexpected journey, from rejection to triumph, from a broken engagement to a love more supportive than she could have imagined, from a small business owner to an industry leader, changing how fashion approached inclusivity. As she watched the young bride's face light up in a gown that fit her perfectly, Maya knew this was exactly where she was meant to be, not seeking revenge but creating something better, a space where everyone belonged. Across the street, Elegance Unveiled's business had begun to decline as Maya's star continued to rise. 6 months later, a "For Lease" sign would appear in their window, while Maya's empire of inclusion continued to grow, creating ripples of change throughout the industry she had once felt excluded from. In the end, Maya hadn't just returned as a millionaire's bride. She had returned as herself, stronger, wiser, and determined to hold the door open for those coming behind her.